importing data into HAR. Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is how you get help in HAR. One of the things you can do is if you want to learn about something, like for instance, this install the packages function, for instance, you can just type a question mark and then install the packages. So when you do that, under help, it brings up the install the packages function, and it shows you different info. It gives you different information about it. So another thing you can do is, for instance, if like I can't remember who it was recently. If I don't remember the exact spelling of install the packages, so I can use two question mark and do install, and it kind of brings out the spelling of the different ones for me. So I can look for the one that I'm actually interested in. So I can choose to install the packages, and I learn about install the packages. So the other thing you can just do is to go to help here within HAR and look for different resources that you might be interested in. You can also type in things in this search bar. So then another thing within HAR is comments. So comments are useful in when you are writing codes within R. Comments help you label your code, explain what you are doing, like the way you are thinking while writing the code. So what R does to create a comment within R, what you just have to do is start with this pound sign or hash sign. So you write the hash sign twice, and whatever you write after that within HAR becomes a comment. So like, for instance, in this code, it says this is a comment. HAR just registers that as a comment. So if you had any code that you were writing before, for instance, you could also just turn that into a comment. So for instance, here we could turn help install the packages into a comment just by adding the hash sign. And then when you run this code, install the packages wouldn't run. It will just be it just comes out as a comment like we had here. So, and if you remove the hash sign again, it goes back to become the original code that it was. So now we're going to talk about Markdown. What you had been opening before, like what I described to you before, was HAR without Markdown. So it ends in .har, but then if you want to create a Markdown document, you'll have to go to File, New File. So instead of choosing R script, you choose HAR Markdown. So the Markdown files are the ones that end in this .rmd instead of ending in .har with the usual HAR scripts. So the Markdown files are the one I've been using. So it's almost like you are building, or it's similar to using, say, Microsoft Word when you're using R Markdown, because you can do things like specify that something be bold, something be italicized. You can see how that is happening right here within R Markdown, because this is a R Markdown document. So the extra benefit beyond just a Microsoft Word or PowerPoint is that you can then run codes within R Markdown. So for instance, when we have the codes here, this 2 + 3, X + Y, and all the other things we've been doing since the beginning of the class, where we're able to run the code within the document, almost like if you have Microsoft Word, and then you can create a section where you insert code and then run that code. So I'll just show you some things you can do within R Markdown, and it would be a good idea if we have a volunteer to create like a R Markdown document, and then I can show how you can insert a chunk of code within R Markdown. So, but to start, simple things that you can do is you can create levels like headers. You can create different headers within your document. So the headers have different sizes. So this is header 1, header 2. This is the size that it will give you. So when you're creating the header, to specify the level, with header 1, you're having 1 hash. And then with header 2, you're having two hash sign before you write the header, and then with header 3, so just like that up to header 6, you can have up to 6. So to embed code like this, the way we have this add pressure, summary pressure, if you want to embed a code like that, the way to do it is you can just come up here and do insert code chunk, and then you can start entering your code. So if I want to do things like 3 + 2, the way I did the last time, you can simply just have that. So if I run that, it gives me the results within that section that has been inserted within R Markdown. Does anyone want to share their screen so we can try out R Markdown and creating a document within R Markdown? Okay, so Shamsuddin, you can unmute. I'll stop sharing so you can share your screen.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Okay, yes, I can see your screen.
I think
you currently have the console.
Yeah.
You are currently at jobs. So do you want to click the console part of the interface?
Okay.
Okay, so to create an R Markdown document, the first thing you want to do is go to like File, or there's that plus sign as well. But anyways, so New File, under New File, you see R Markdown, and you can just select R Markdown.
I think that's what I click on initially, and it brought me here. It said it's installing Markdown or something.
Oh, I see. So you currently don't, maybe you have a version of R. Oh, it's currently installing. The current version of R you have doesn't have Markdown. Okay. Now you can. Yeah, so you can name it whatever you want. Okay. You can cancel this one. Cancel. You can cancel this other one.
All right.
Okay. So currently you are in the source. If you look at the top where, like at the beginning of your code, there's a part that says source and there's a part that says visual.
Yeah.
So there is source and visual before line 1 of your code.
Yeah.
So you can click visual and see what happens. You are currently at source, but click visual and see what happens.
Okay. Said.
Use visual mode.
Okay.
Yeah. So it preloads when you create a new Markdown document. It preloads it with like what it is currently showing you now. This is an R Markdown document, blah, blah, blah. There's a title and all of that. So you can basically edit things. You can put your cursor on R Markdown. You can click on R where it says R Markdown, and you can edit that out. And almost like you're doing a Microsoft Word document and name it something like, oh, Stats Clinic class. You can clear what you currently have there, that hard Markdown that you currently have there, and just got it like, yeah. So that's an add-in too, for instance. Okay. So it's like you're basically creating a document. Say maybe you're telling a story with the data you have. You can say, oh, introduction, introduce this. This is why you're doing this. And then you can then start running code. Like, for instance, this shows summary cars. To run the code, you can click the green button. So in this summary cars part, so you can click the green button. No, the next one after that, like an arrow. So that's the one that runs the code you have within this chunk.
Okay.
So it runs the code within the chunk. You can close it. You can close that. You know, you can close it and run it again. Yeah, you can clear the output, change the code, and write something else. If you click that, it clears the output.
Okay.
Yeah. So now if you want to include, if you want to run in, include a new chunk of code, for instance, let's say, after this, let's say before including plots, go to the beginning of including plots. Or we can go anywhere else within the documents. Yeah, so let's say we want to include it. You can press enter to go to the next line. Or just, yeah. So let's say we want to include a new chunk of code. So you can go to the top part of your screen. There's this C sign. Move to the, not there, go towards the right, you see, yeah. So that allows you to insert new code. So if you click that and click R, so it basically gives you somewhere to start writing a new line of code. So you can have like the same things we were doing before, like 3 + 2. You try that. You can try anything like that. 3 + 2, 50 + 80, or assigning variables. So yeah, so if you go ahead and click the green arrow again, like we're doing, yeah, you can use that as well, or click the green arrow. Then it runs. So it runs the code that you currently have in that code chunk section.
Okay.
All right, so I think the next thing we want to do is Thank you so much for volunteering.
All right.